Hello, Internet. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm recording this figure drawing session that I did over the last couple days, starting off here with some quick gestures to warm up. The purpose of this figure drawing is as much to put out a video for folks who have been asking me how I draw figures, and more so is a chance for me to create a baseline for how I tackle drawing the figure, because I'll be starting a figure drawing course put together by Indigo Steel version 2.0. I took a look at version 1.0 a while back, but I knew that he had a update for it in the works, and so I didn't really dive deep into it, but he just released that 2.0 update. I'll be sure to drop a link in the description for anyone that's interested. I definitely recommend checking it out. Pretty significant overhaul with a lot of excellent exercises and insight, and also some new bells and whistles like 3D models and whatnot to work on various poses and everything. So very cool stuff. Looking forward to diving into that. So I'd like to, create a baseline for, to track my progress as I go through that figure drawing course. So here we're essentially just kind of getting loose, and this is how I would do quick gestures. These aren't timed, but I am trying to keep it, within a couple minutes per figure, just trying to get the hand warmed up and whatnot. And then as we find our rhythm and are happy with the quality of our lines and the observation actually matching the stroke that we intend, then I move on and dive into the figure proper. So this is the figure I was going to be referencing and using for this weekly challenge, which was to draw your favorite character in the absolute wrong genre, which I found interesting and enjoyable to tackle. So for this particular piece, I decided that I'm going to start using my character for this eventual project I'm putting together, as I'm developing the character designs for her and trying to flesh out who the character is and how she fits into this world and stuff like that. So for these challenges, I'm probably going to be exclusively using her just to kind of help familiarize myself with the character and sort some things out. So you'll notice as I'm tackling this figure, I do start out just as loose with the gesture. Well, maybe not just as loose, but I start out loose, but maybe with slightly more controlled and patient lines. But again, I'm not looking for likeness, like one-to-one likeness, but I am trying to keep it loose to capture the vibe and develop some detail, but really not resolving it. I mean, as deep as I'll go, I think, in this stage is just tackling the muscle groups, perspective, things like that. So you see that I'm doing a lot of erasing, like kneaded eraser type erasing. This is all on one layer. So if you are working traditionally, this is the same sort of process you can use. I know that I do use the lasso to move things every now and then. That is a tool that I use digitally quite a bit, but I tried to keep it minimal here for this figure drawing, at least, so anyone who is working traditionally can follow along. This isn't meant to be a tutorial so much as it is just kind of a demonstration of how I'm currently working, and anyone who is kind of in the same place on their journey, they can watch this, maybe take a few things from it, maybe see things that they don't like how I work, and they can adjust it accordingly. But there you see there is some lasso work there. Flipping the head, because again, I'm not trying to copy the reference one-to-one. So for this particular challenge, this character comes from a setting that is kind of grimdark sci-fi fantasy, and she's getting plopped into singing in the rain. So that is part of the head flip, because I know I wanted her to be kind of shouting into the rain, belting it out, that kind of thing, just living her best life. So here now, again, take the kneaded eraser, back off those lines, and start doing some line cleanup. So here we are starting to find the form, more quality line work, not final lines necessarily, but more quality line work than the previous stages. Trying to capture a little bit more detail in the form, but more so just trying to get the silhouette the way I want it to read. You'll notice that I don't necessarily do much construction. There's a few wireframe lines just to kind of help me place things in the 3D space. And once I kind of get to this point, I begin kind of detailing out the face. Again, very loose, very gesturally. It's not gonna be final lines. You can see that I use, kind of like I was speaking about the wireframe and structure aspect. I don't construct the head with any one particular method. It's kind of a mixed bag of Loomis and various other deals. I kind of just make sure I got the silhouette correct, or close, at least close. And then about the most construction I do, unless I'm really struggling with a particular angle or perspective, you see that I put in that jawline where the face turns from the frontal plane to the side plane. You can kind of see it there as we zoom back in. I'll kind of sketch that in so I can just kind of get an idea of where the features will be and the angle of the face. You'll notice I'm moving that mouth, and that's because, the angle of the mouth was wrong. If you draw a line between the corners of the mouth, it didn't match the line of the eyes with the line of the nostrils, so just corrected that. And again, that's not final. My process, and maybe I should have said this up front, but my process right now is, I jokingly tell people I fail towards success. I just muck about and iterate and sketch over, erase, sketch over until I find the lines that I want. This particular piece is probably taken to a stage of, call it maybe like 70-75% like complete. This is just for a weekly challenge, just kind of keeping the hand warm, just giving you a reason and a purpose to draw. So it's not going to be fully rendered. It's not going to be completely tightened up. It's going to remain pretty loose in the end. Low stakes, low pressure. You gotta enjoy yourself while you're working. You can see we got the references up there, so I guess we'll talk through that. Again, I don't traditionally take a reference and draw it one-to-one. It's just not something I enjoy doing unless I'm doing a study. If you're doing studies, the purpose of that is to capture something in the reference with good likeness. But in this particular case, we're just kind of using the references as vibes and as guidance. So we got the still frame from Singing in the Rain to give us an idea of the background. You can tell earlier on I just kind of blocked that in roughly and loosely, and I zoom out to do that so I don't get caught up in trying to detail anything. The various other references, the couple on the bottom right there I didn't really use. I had them there just on the off chance that I kind of wanted to change the pose up a little bit or do something different with the wardrobe, how it interacted with the environment, like wind and whatever else, her pose, what she's doing. So there you see now, using an earlier drawing of this character, one of the earliest that I did during Inktober last year, where she kind of came into being. using that to recall how I did the mechanical bits of her portrait. And also the boots. The boots are probably the boots and her mechanical bits are about the most finalized. Other than that, this character is so early in development. Nothing is finalized, but I do love the chonky boots. You'll see I'll work over those a few times as we go as well. Coming back to the original figure reference, I think here I start fiddling with some more forms and shadow shapes. Yeah, specifically like the armpits and stuff. I actually probably spent too much time trying to capture that, but there was so much going on there. I kind of lost myself in it. You know, because she's very toned, very lean. And I kind of got lost in the weeds there a little bit. Turning to the face, and you can tell from that reference that I'm using, again, it's not one-to-one, just using it kind of as a guidance. Her head position is different than the reference. Just kind of using it as a quick guide. And some work on the mouth. This mouth is, at this point, I think that's pretty close to finalized. I'm not exactly happy with it, but again, this is supposed to be a silly kind of drawing, you know, a serious, dark character and setting, and I'm plopping it into Singing in the Rain. So I didn't take myself too seriously, and I think that's probably part of the benefits of these challenges and keeping it loose with your drawings and not taking it too seriously, is that feel free to screw up and play with different design decisions, like the face being a little bit more cartoony, a little bit more simplified, and what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, just a little bit more cartoony than how I envisioned the character in the end when she is finally complete. At that point, you saw I changed the hair. I remembered that one of the later design sheets I have for her, I did decide to shorten her hair a bit. I was like, oops, okay, we'll correct that. That's all going to go away here in a minute once we get to like the wardrobe and stuff. But I did do all of this work like I did for the sole purpose of demonstrating to myself and here for this video how I do figures. So a lot of that line work and time spent refining the figure wasn't really necessary for the end piece. It does help when you have the form fully fleshed out. When you're placing the clothes on the figure, you know how they fit around the form, but it's not essential. Again, just tightening up lines, making things a little bit cleaner, a little bit clearer. I have a tendency when I do the mechanical bits around her neck and shoulder area, I tend to get a little too messy in there. And even this is still a little messier than I would like it in the end. But again, we're keeping it loose, keeping it raw. I just spent some time tidying that up. And again, just entirely too much time trying to resolve that armpit. I don't know why I got hung up on that. Now deciding on the final shape of the hand and how she's holding the lamp post. And then finalizing those lines. So again, this is all still on one layer. The only time we move to a second layer, or the first time we move to a second layer, is when we do start the clothing process. And then once that's done, once the costume is not finished, but at least a solid sketch, at that point then I merge it down and work from one layer again. And then once we do some of the tones and the rendering in the later stages, those will introduce new layers as well. But as far as the figure drawing goes, one layer to begin with for all of the line work for the figure, and then I do put the clothes on another layer so I can easily make changes and experiment with other stuff. Though I don't do a whole lot of experimenting with her clothes here. I just take the design sheet, the current design sheet I have for her, and picked one and ran with it. Again, not a final character design, but good enough for this exercise. One thing I did struggle with was the placement of that small belt around her torso, her rib cage. I wanted to have it separated from her top, just to add some visual interest, but I really didn't plan out the overall perspective of this piece very well, and it just didn't seem to work. So in the end, you'll notice I wind up just tucking it right up against the top, which in the end it works out fine. And I'm just now realizing, as I watched this back for the voiceover, that I forgot to do her medallions. I sketched them in and then didn't do them in the final piece. So I guess that's something for future Joxy to do before he posts the video. That way the final piece in the end can fully represent what the current state of the character design is. So at this point, the figure demonstration is done. So I will end the voiceover here and allow you to just kind of watch me finalize the line work for the outfit and do some rendering in the end. But it's more or less the same process. Just drop lines in loosely, keep it gestural, and refine and iterate over time. So with that being the case, this has gone on long enough if you're just looking for the figure portion, but if you want to see the piece to completion, please by all means enjoy the rest of the video. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
The silhouette's burning, embers rising high, like a chemical fire. The flame won't die. Intertwine, darling, you and I. And my heart beats cold under your control. Just let go. Did I lose my mind and your mercury eyes? And I know it blind the reason why. Barely scratching the surface. This obsession of mine is fueling the furnace. I'm up all night and we're intertwined. Darling, you and my heart beats cold under your control. Just let go. Did I lose my mind in your mercury eyes? And I know it blind the reason why. Beats cold under your control. Just a false echo. I'm a ghost. Did I lose my mind in your mercury eyes?